IKhanWhisper here, and today I'm going to be making a Warhammer 40K Primarchs tier list, and I'm just going to be ordering them in my personal preference, who I like and think is pretty cool. But yeah, tier lists are all the rage right now, but I hadn't seen any Warhammer 40K ones. So I made my own tier list on tiermaker.com here. So I'll put a link in the description and a pinned comment, and you guys can go fill it out for yourselves after watching the video. And please add it in a comment, and I'd like to check out your guys' list as well. So yeah, the fun of these, I think, is not necessarily having to agree with what the people say, but just seeing what their justifications are for it. I think it's kind of interesting. So, in addition to that, I also made a new YouTube channel called WH40K. I think it's a pretty cool name. Play on words there. Yeah, it's gonna have non-ASMR Warhammer 40K content on there as well, so please check that out if you enjoy my Warhammer 40K content on this channel. I'll put a link to that as well, and there's another video of me filling out a tier list of the Primarchs in order of what I think their importance to the Horus Heresy is. But anyway, let's get into it. So it took a while to get all these little pictures cut out and putting their name on there just for so everybody can jump in here, ease of reference if you're not familiar with the faces on them. So it took a little bit of time, but I think it's definitely worth it. Alright, so let's get into it here. So, who do I like the most, or just think is interesting, I guess I'll go with. So I really liked the book about Magnus. I thought his was super cool. He's the Primarch of the Thousand Suns, and they're all about psychers and those kinds of powers. They have people that can like predict the future, and they're like leading battle plans and stuff. They got people casting crazy spells. They got one guy that was leading, or not leading, but controlling like a titan remotely just with like his psychic powers, which I thought was pretty cool. And yeah, he just had like a good plot too. Like his was so there has like the Council of Nicaea or something, where they put like a ban on like the psyker abilities and stuff, and like doing anything too crazy, which Magnus doesn't really like. But he finds out that Chaos is trying to corrupt Horus, and he tries to intervene in that, and unsuccessfully, but he does try. And then he tries to warn the Emperor. He knows he needs to do it like quick before the Horus Heresy happens, and there's not time to like send a message or travel there back to Terra. So he like does astral projection, and there's like barriers around Earth or something that he has to like break through, but he ends up like messing up something with the Golden Throne and causing a lot of trouble. That ends up with the Space Wolves killing him. So I think his story was just really cool, and I really enjoyed it. So I'll put him up there as one of my favorite ones. He does fall to chaos, and I've just started reading a book that's going to discuss that a bit more. Horus, I think, is actually pretty interesting. I haven't read like too much, but I've read a couple of like the Luna Wolves novels, which is the name of his chapter before they become the Sons of Horus after he becomes War Master. I'm gonna put him, let's say, up to like. Why is the website like freaking out? There we go. That was weird. It was like, no, he can't be B tier. Okay. But yeah, he's gonna be a solid B. Yeah, he becomes a War Master, and I think there's a lot of interesting things with him, because he's like trying to be a good dude. He's like trying to be a good War Master, even though it's like not really who he wants to be, I guess, and he just wants to like fight. But he's having to like lead and make all these decisions, and all the other Primarchs are kind of like jealous and buttered at him, and he doesn't like that. He just wants to be cool with all of them. And just like Lorgar and the Dark Apostle or whatever, kind of set him on a path of going down into chaos and trick him into that. And he like meets up with this other race that was like humans and aliens living together called like the Interrex, and they were about to like tell them about chaos and like warn them about it. But then the Dark Apostle like sets up he causes a commotion by stealing something, and the Anathame, which is like a sword that's later used to wound Horus, and he can't heal from it. And then what they do is they like bring him to this chaosy kind of like temple thing. They trick his guys into thinking it's the only way to heal him, but it just kind of like puts him into like a weird dream state thing that they like use to kind of like trick him into switching to chaos, or he's just gonna die. And they show him like visions of the future where like the Emperor is worshipped as a god, and it's all like weird and dark, which really is just Warhammer 40K. And he thinks it's like so crazy, and like blames the Emperor for trying to make himself a god, even though the Emperor's like the main one trying to stop that and be like, no, don't worship me, I'm just a cool dude. But so like the Horus Heresy ends up creating that reality. But anyway, hopefully you guys are enjoying the long-winded explanations. I think Vulkan's pretty cool. I'll put him right there. Just 'cause I don't know a whole lot about him, but he seems like a chill dude. He's from a volcano planet, and it gives him like the darker skin and red eyes that all of the salamanders have. And I don't know, it's kind of like rare to find a Primarch that's not just like super kind of like arrogant and looking down on everyone. Like he just like, I don't know, cares for people like humans, I guess. The other ones like don't really like look down on normal humans and don't care as much, some of them, or just space marines in general. But the salamanders like go out of their way to try and protect everyone in the Empire, which I think is pretty cool. Guilliman I'll put up here just because he's, there we go, done so much. I mean, he wrote the book on how to be a space marine. He wrote the Codex Astartes, which is super important by itself. And the Ultramarines are kind of like goody two-shoes, but they're interesting to read about. I just read a book about the Battle of Calth, I guess, Cal, their system. And then, obviously, they don't know the Horus Heresy has begun yet, but the Lorgar brings a ship and, like, sends it into, like, warp speed straight into, like, through all the docked ships, through the orbital stations, and hits the planet and just does tremendous damage. And then they attack full strength, and it's just like a crazy battle. Yeah, besides that, Guilliman is like, when there was a big warp storm and they were cut off during the Horus Heresy, he like made his own little tiny empire of like the 500 worlds of Ultramar. So he made like his own little empire. But yeah, he's pretty interesting. And he just has like a super like analytic mind, so he's good for like strategies and things. It's interesting to read about. The Space Wolves. I'm gonna put them. It could go B or A for me, but I'm just gonna put them at. I don't know why the website's freaking out all of a sudden. It was perfectly fine. But now it's being a little bit weird. Probably just needs a refresh, but I'm not gonna do that when we're halfway through our list here. Oh yeah, so justifications for that. So the Space Wolves are obviously super important all the way through the timeline of from 30K, Horus Heresy, 40K. They're like the Emperor's executioner. He'll just send them to do a crazy mission, and they will do it. Yeah, and they have like weird. Obviously, they have like wolf senses and skills and things, and like a pack mentality kind of thing that makes them more resistant to like chaos, corruption, and stuff like that somehow. But Russ seemed like a pretty okay guy, but kind of like mean and cold, I guess, too, and blunt. But I don't know, the more I kind of like read about them, the less I liked them a little bit, just because like they're not very smart. Like some of the books I was reading about them, I think it was like, I forget what it's called, Wolves of Fenris, or I don't know, something along those lines. But yeah, they like don't know how to read and stuff, and they only have like storytellers to preserve their history, and like their ships and stuff, and just like all the technology they use just has like, I don't know, like pictures and runes on it and not actual writing, so that they can use it. It just seemed really bad on them. Plus he killed Magnus and burned Prospero and defeated the Thousand Sons, so, and they're my top tier, most interesting up here. But they're pretty cool. They're involved in so much stuff that they kind of have to be top of the list here. Let's see. Let's see. Curze, I haven't read anything like directly from his point of view, but I'm debating D or E. I'm just gonna put him at E right now. But he's like the Night Haunter. He comes up quite a bit through the Horus Heresy. But yeah, he seems to kind of like hate himself and his legion and everything. hard to hit and move super quick. But I think eventually his own legion might kill him or something after the Horus heresy is over. I think I remember reading that in one of the books. But yeah, I think that's a solid placement for him. Perturabo is of the Iron Warriors, who seem just kind of into like defensive tactics and things, kind of like the Iron Hands of Ferrus Manus. Honestly, I think I've read about them probably the least. I know they were at like the Istvan drop site massacre, where it was like the Emperor's children and the sons of Horus on Istvan, and they dug in deep there defensively, and Ferrus Manus and Corax and Vulkan landed on the planet and started hitting those traitor legions hard. And then Perturabo and one of the other ones, probably like, I can't remember exactly who, probably Alpharius, maybe just those two, like landed behind them, and they were supposed to be loyal, and then they turned on them, and then the 3 loyal legions just got caught in a crossfire, and most of their legions got destroyed. But other than that, his name hasn't come up very often in what I've read so far about the Horus heresy. Let's see, I'm gonna pop Alpharius down there too, of the Alpha Legion. They seem kind of interesting, but honestly they haven't come up a whole lot in my reading, and I don't know a whole lot about them. I think ultimately, they do go to chaos. I'm not sure about the Primarch or the motivations behind it, really. But I think ultimately Guilliman and the Thousand Sons track them down and destroy his legion, pretty much. The Khan, reading about him was pretty interesting. I'm going to bump him up to the C tier here. It was pretty interesting. He's kind of like, he's of the White Scars, and they're kind of like a Mongolian-y type culture type thing, background. Each of the like legions has their own kind of like culture type and Primarch power and stuff that they inherit, but they like going off and doing their own thing and striking hard, hitting fast. Is their whole motto. So I read a book about them, and it was pretty cool. I like their story because they're like off way on the fringes of Imperial space or beyond, and during the Horus heresy, and they come in later, and they just haven't heard anything. They just get piecemeal, just messages from both sides, loyal and traitor space marines and stuff, like asking for assistance and saying the other started the fighting, and they just have to piece together what's going on. And it's pretty cool. I like that. I liked it too because he goes to Prospero to see what's going on there. I think he was friends with Magnus, and he's obviously pissed at Russ for the destruction they caused there, and he doesn't know who's right and wrong. And then he ends up fighting Mortarion there. But yeah, I just liked his plot of trying to like piece together who's good and who's bad in this situation, because I think his like some of his top two buddies were like Magnus and Horus, and they're not on the good side. But ultimately, he does go with siding with the Emperor. We got Mortarion. I'm gonna put him in the E tier as well. I haven't read too much directly about him yet, but I know he was like it was like some kind of like world ruled with like warlocky type people, and most of the people on the planet were kind of like enslaved to them, and there's lots of like poison gas and stuff, I think, in use. But he's, what is he, the Death Guard is his legion. He carries a big scythe. That's pretty cool. But anyway, I think he like leads a revolt for the people on his planet against like his adopted father, who was like a warlock lord or something. But then like the Emperor comes down, and I forget exactly why, but he ends up like hating the Emperor essentially, and he just always kind of feels like separate from these guys and doesn't really like anyone except for the Khan. And he actually tries to like convince the Khan to come over to Horus's side. But Mortarion's kind of out of place, like he doesn't, I don't know, he doesn't fit in with the others, I guess. I don't think like immediately he's like worshipping chaos or anything. And the Khan's kind of like, you're kind of on the wrong side, like doesn't make sense, but he doesn't like the Emperor, so there he is. Let's see, Ferrus, I'm gonna put him down at F tier just because I don't know too much about him. I know he's of the Iron Hands, and he gets killed by Fulgrim. Like the only information I have about him comes from pretty much mostly the book on Fulgrim and the Emperor's children. But yeah, Fulgrim tries to convince him to join Horus, and he's not having it. And he kind of leads the charge of the Istvan massacre battle against the Chaos, and he pushes through their defenses all the way up to fighting Fulgrim in one-on-one combat, and ultimately loses and gets beheaded. So he's out of play like most of the time. So I'm going to bump him down there on the interesting factor. Fulgrim I don't like personally, but his story was kind of interesting, so I'm kind of debating D or C, and I guess I'll put him at a D for now. He kind of looks like Arthas from Warcraft 3, and I think his legion, or his Primarch number or something, is actually 3 as well, which is kind of funny, because that goes along with Warcraft 3. But his story kind of matches Arthas as well. Like, he's fighting, I think, some kind of like lizard aquatic race, and he defeats them, and in like their last like temple castle thing, he finds this like really cool powerful sword and picks it up and starts using it, but it has like a demon or something in it that starts like, you know, like whispering to him and stealing his soul and stuff and corrupting him. And his legion just kind of like gets more and more gradually corrupted. I think it's by like Slanesh or something. And then yeah, he ultimately kills Ferrus Manus, and feels so bad about it that he just kind of like gives in, and the demon like consumes his soul and makes him into the first demon prince Primarch. So on the interesting scale, he's kind of more up there than the others. Corax, I know very little about Corax, other than that he was at the drop site massacre too, and I think he just got wounded and managed to escape. Like a few ships like managed to take off out of the drop site massacre, out of fighting their way. that terrible situation. But I don't know too much about what him or his legion do. But I'm sure I'll read something about him at some point. I think I've seen a book about him. So, and remember, this is just like my perspective based on what I've read so far. So obviously that'll change as I read more or learn more things about what they do. Sanguinius is pretty cool. I really would like to read more about him because I don't know. I haven't read anything really about his point of view, but he seems pretty level-headed, and he's friends with Horus and tries to like give him some counsel and stuff. And he's Primarch of the Blood Angels. He's the angel himself. He literally has angel wings, which is pretty cool. But yeah, he seems pretty level-headed, which is a rare trait amongst all these super angry, eager to get into a fight, super prideful and confident and cocky Primarchs. But I think he was also involved in like the battle above Terra, like in space, against Horus when he attacked. And I believe it was like him and the Emperor against Horus, and he was wounded there. He like protected the Emperor and took a hit and died there. Let's see, Lorgar, I'm gonna put him at D tier. He's of the Word Bearers. His story's pretty interesting. Well, kind of interesting. He's so first they were pretty religious-y and were like all the worlds they conquered, they were like making into super religious worlds, worshipping the Emperor. And the Emperor had the Ultramarines kind of like sanction them, and they didn't like that, obviously, and they sought to kind of like seek that void, or to fill that void, and ended up worshipping chaos. And the Dark Prophet guy came from that legion, and played pretty much the whole role in corrupting Horus and making him start the Horus heresy. So they're pretty important just for instigating things. Dorn's pretty cool. He's another pretty level-headed guy. The Emperor, when he leaves the Great Crusade, makes Horus the War Master and comes back to Terra to work on the Golden Throne. He brings Dorn and the Imperial Fists back to Terra and just has them make the planet into a massive fortress with crazy defenses, which it definitely needed during the Horus heresy. So he was in that fighting as well. I haven't read anything from directly his point of view or exactly what he did on Terra, but he's pretty important. He's come up in some other books just here and there. And also I was just reading a book about Armageddon, which is a huge battle against like Imperial Guard and a bunch of Space Marines and stuff against just a ridiculous orc assault. And like Commissar Yark is there too. He comes up a lot. But that was after his time for sure. But his successor legion, the Black Templars, are there. And it's pretty cool reading about them. Their like whole objective is like that they never gave up on the crusade, so they're like still just going out and fighting and not falling back and defending forever like the rest of the Imperium is in Warhammer 40k. I don't remember if I mentioned it or not about Vulkan, but it comes up in that Armageddon book I was just talking about, where they get reinforced by some salamanders, and the salamanders just seem super cool because they like go out of their way to protect just everybody, just every Imperial citizen. They actually, like, unlike most Space Marines, just give a crap about the common human. So yeah, they like reinforcements are coming down. They like break through a huge space battle, and they come to this one city that had a lot of just citizens that were threatened of being attacked by orcs, and save them, and then go onto their main objective afterwards. And during that fighting, like the Dark Templar or Black Templar, that sounds right. They want to like press on and go after orc war bosses and abandon like defending the civilian shelters, and the salamanders are just not having it. They're like, no, we gotta protect people. Alright, so Angron, I don't really like, so I'm gonna put down here. This tier is a mixture of not really like and also not knowing about. These are the ones I have read the least about. But Angron is kind of like Warhammer 40k's, like Bane, like Batman Bane. Because I think he came from like a world where he was like a gladiator type guy and had like chemicals pumped into him to make him stronger and angrier. And I think he still has those going on. Like a lot of pictures have like a bunch of tubes going in the back of his head. But yeah, he's not very intelligent, just very angry. And Horus just uses him to do a lot of brutal fighting stuff. I remember he used him in this like one battle where they encounter a peaceful human race that has some like advanced human technology that were from like just a long lost like human faction from like the high technology days of humanity. And they still have like, they don't have space marines, but they have like essentially like Spartans from Halo. They just have power armor and advanced weaponry and stuff. So they put up a good fight, but they send Angron in, and he's like breaching a fortress, and they just blow it up and just drop like a huge amount of stone and fortress on him. And he eventually just digs his way out and is super pissed. Now let's see, L. Johnson, was he the Dark Angels or something? And he's really secretive, and I haven't read too much about him. At least too much about him actually affecting Warhammer 30k and 40k. I read of like him before, like up until he like encountered the Emperor, and they were on like a planet that's kind of like Monster Hunter or something, like a steampunk Monster Hunter type world, where they have some like leftover like kind of power armor and bolt guns. But other than that, it's like a medieval society with like night orders and things, and there's giant monsters that like plague the whole planet. And he kind of like rises to power in one of the orders and leads them to clear out like all the monsters and evil night orders and stuff on the planet. And then so they already have pretty much a legion of just normal humans. I think a lot of them just end up being his legion. He's like the first one. solid. Like, Fulgrim has a cool story that I can appreciate, but I really don't like his Legion. And this is just kind of like the don't know about tier. This is like the know about, but don't really care for. This is like the know more about, and kind of like, I don't know. Maybe I'll bump him up one. And I do like Vulkan. I just don't know too much. I know, like, I forget if I talked about it before, but Curze, like, he has like his Primarch gift thing that he didn't even know about was like he's immortal. So Curze like captures him and is like torturing him and drives him insane. But maybe we'll bump these up. I'm gonna switch these around just a little bit because I realized that this is just supposed to be me liking it and not just importance. I've done that already, so we'll fiddle with this just a little bit. Other than that, I think it's pretty good. I'm debating moving Horus up, but I don't know. I think his storyline is just super interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Okay. So, that's a pretty, in my opinion, good tier list of interesting story-wise and relevance, and how much I know about them is a big factor. But I think the big thing with these tier lists that make it fun, like I said, I think earlier, is just seeing people's justifications and like their experiences or what they know about stuff. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Please, if you're interested in it, you think this is something that you would enjoy, take a crack at making your own tier list with this template that I've created. And yeah, leave a like or a comment if you enjoyed the video. If you'd like to see more tier lists, I think that would be fun. You could suggest one, or point me to one if you want to see like ones about my opinions on what like consoles and video games or TV shows. I saw a bunch when I was looking at this website.